know what, my brain just twists time, I swear. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Molly and I'm going to do this video a little bit differently than I've done some of my previous ones. This is just going to be a really chill, laid back video. I'm going to be going over some albums that are turning 10 this year. So these are all albums that were released in 2011 that are turning 10, and I honestly can't believe it. It kind of makes me feel like I'm getting old, which I guess I am. I guess everyone is. This will just make you feel older, I guess, is the point of this video. So I'm going to start by introducing the first album on my list, but it's 21 by Adele. And yeah, I was just really surprised by this. I feel like this album came out maybe 5 years ago, but it's kind of the album that really put Adele on the radar. And I've actually never listened to this album straight through beginning to end, but I obviously know some of the singles on it. I mean, Rolling in the Deep was huge for so long, and then Someone Like You, I think that was on 21. Oh, and Rumor Has It, that was another really big song on this record. So 21 by Adele, that album is officially 10 years old, which just blows my mind. Honestly, it does. This whole video is just gonna be like, I feel old now. The King of Limbs, Radiohead. This album is 10, and just one of Radiohead's lesser known albums, but if you haven't seen my Radiohead ranking video, it's actually one of my more favorite albums from Radiohead. I know, very unpopular opinion, but The King of Limbs, another album that doesn't seem like it's 10 years old, but apparently it is. Megalithic Symphony by Owl Nation. Owl Nation? I think it's AWOL Nation. I've always said Owl Nation, but it's AWOL Nation. I'm pretty sure it's AWOL Nation, and I'm just weird and say Owl Nation. But regardless, Megalithic Symphony by AWOL Nation is 10 years old, and I'm not super familiar with this album. I just know it's the one album that has the I blame it on my ADD, baby. That one. Sail. I think? Sail, yeah. And honestly, this album does feel about 10 to me. I'll be honest, this one doesn't surprise me. I feel like it was about 10 years ago that Sail was all over the place, being played everywhere, but we have Vices and Virtues by Panic at the Disco, and this is another album that to me honestly does feel about 10 years old. I kind of honestly thought this album might be even older, so I was kind of surprised that it's only 10 years old. I feel like this is like a mid-2000s album for some reason, but it apparently was released on March 22nd of 2011, so that officially makes it just about 10 years old. But just a classic Panic at the Disco album, really good one. It's got the Ballad of Mona Lisa on it. Definitely has some of Panic at the Disco's more classic sounds on it, I guess, but a nice little album. Like I said, it feels older. I feel like I was really young when this album was released, but apparently it's 10 years old, so I thought I'd bring it up in this video. Camp by Childish Gambino is another one. I'm not super familiar with many of the songs on this album, but for some reason I had it in my head that Childish Gambino, aka Donald Glover, has only been making music for like maybe 5 years, so I was surprised that this album was 10 years old. It's weird how your mind just distorts time. Torches by Foster the People. This album is 10. That means that Pumped Up Kicks is also 10. Don't know why I said it like that. And that song has really faded into oblivion, hasn't it? You heard that thing playing everywhere for a year straight, and now you just never hear that song. But anyway, that aside, Torches is a great album by Foster the People. It was the album that introduced me to Foster the People, as I think it did for a lot of people. And yeah, this one's 10, so add it to your list. Born This Way by Lady Gaga. This was a absolutely massive album. I honestly thought this album was older. I feel like this album has been out for like more than 10 years. But apparently May 23rd, 2011 is when Born This Way was released. So it is officially, well, not quite officially, but it's almost 10 years old. Just such an iconic album for pop music, and I feel like it completely changed the landscape of pop music. So definitely an influential album. Suck It and See by the Arctic Monkeys is also 10 years old. Not an album I'm super familiar with. For those of you that are, let me know if this album feels like it's actually 10 or if you're shocked by that. Plus by Ed Sheeran is 10 years old. I'm not really one to listen too much of Ed Sheeran's music, but I was kind of surprised still that this album was 10. Again, I feel like he's a musician that hasn't been on the scene for 10 years. For some reason, he seems more recent in my mind. So it was just an album that surprised me that it was 10 years old. My Head is an Animal by Monsters and Men. This one, I remember listening to some of the songs on this album when I was younger. It just didn't seem like it was 10 though. It just surprised me, so I figured I'd include it in this video. And then Hurry Up We're Dreaming by M83. I love this album, and it is 10 years old. It was, again, one of those albums, I actually thought it was older. But no, it came out in October of 2011, so it's slowly approaching its 10th birthday. For some reason, I associate this album with my childhood, and yet this album would have come out when I was 14-ish. My brain can't really comprehend math right now, so I don't know why I associate Hurry Up We're Dreaming with like me being a young child. I don't understand my brain, how it tells time. But I was fairly young when this album came out, and I just thought I'd include it on this list. Milo by Coldplay is 10 as well. I don't know how to pronounce this album. Milo Xyloto. But yeah, this album is 10, and I just know this album for, I think it's the song Paradise is on this one, and then I think Princess of China is on this album too. Those are kind of the only two songs I know from this album. Yeah, I'm not super familiar with a ton of Coldplay albums, but this one's 10. By the way, this video is gonna omit a ton of albums. These are just the albums that I either know some tracks from or was just really surprised by. Like, I was surprised they were 10 years old. So this is in no way mentioning every single album that was released in 2011 that's turning 10 this year. Definitely let me know if there's any albums I miss in this video and which ones you're surprised by, because I'd love to see those comments. Stronger by Kelly Clarkson. Apparently, this album's 10. This one was released in October 2011, and I just wanted to include this album because I thought that Stronger was like 20 years old. I don't know what, my brain just twists time, I swear. But I honestly thought this album was a lot older. I don't know what I'm thinking of, but apparently it's 10. Ceremonials by Florence and the Machine is 10. This one was released in October as well. I guess all these albums came out in October of 2011. And again, this is an album I haven't listened through to the whole thing. I just know tracks from it. I was kind of surprised that it was 10. It seemed more recent to me. Birdie, the debut album by the singer Birdie, was released in 2011. And I just vaguely remember listening to this album when I must have been like 14 or 15 when it was released, and I just completely dazed out there. What is this video turning into? I don't know. Was it ever really anything to begin with? Take Care by Drake. I have not listened to this album personally. I just figured I'd throw it on here for any Drake fans out there watching. Does this album seem 10 years old to you? I don't know. I feel like Drake releases a new album every year, so at this point I don't know. I can't use his albums to judge time because there's always a new one. And then just to wrap up my own list, Talk That Talk by Rihanna is also 10 years old this year. That's the album with We Found Love. Yeah, this album's 10, so it officially makes me feel old and like time is just flying by. But yeah, I don't know what this video really was. I just kind of got looking at a list on Wikipedia of albums that were released in 2011, and I thought I'd make a little video about it. It's kind of interesting to just go back and just see what albums came out. Sometimes you'll be like, oh my god, that was 10 years ago that the album came out. And other times you will think an album's like 20 years old and it was only released 5 years ago. If there's any albums I didn't mention in this video that were released in 2011 that surprised you, definitely let me know. I'm sure I overlooked quite a few. Anyway, I'm going to end this video here. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned, and as usual, I will see you all next time.